Morning, everyone. We'll get started in just 1 minute. All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us. So we're on our 5th session of our AI Learning Lab, and today we're going to talk about, we're building on everything we've talked about, right? From prompting to personalization to all of those things. And today we're going to talk about connectors and tools that are available for you that will improve your experience with the AIs that are out there. Now, before we get started, I do want to just give everyone a quick update on some AI news because it is changing on an almost weekly basis. Google Gemini 3 and 3 Pro just launched. It's the most powerful model yet. It's outperforming both ChatGPT and Claude. And Apple also just announced that they're going to be using Gemini to power Siri coming next spring. So all exciting news. ChatGPT 5.1 was also released last week. And really the biggest story that I'm most interested about is Anthropic, who created the creators of Claude, were just their tool, Claude Code, was used for one of the largest cyber espionage attacks that has happened in the AI era. It automated about 80 to 90% of the cyber attack, and it targeted about 30 of the largest corporations and organizations in the world. So it basically did the work of what an entire AI team would do. And really they exploited Claude's memory features because of the fact that there's context window limitations. They fed context at strategic points in time. So the AI couldn't actually use its guardrails to stop the hackers from using the tool to hack other people. But the things that it did and at the rate that it did it at, it was insane. And there will be a full blog post and a social media post later about it to talk about more detail. So let's get started. Right now, one of the biggest issues, and I hear this a lot, is I have to copy or download my documents out of my case management system or out of SharePoint, upload them or Google Drive, upload them into ChatGPT or Claude so that it can understand context or have a document to refer it to. They're copying and pasting. You're asking Claude or ChatGPT to do something for you. You copy it, you paste it, and then you have to edit it and clean it up because it adds all these extra spaces and things like that. Well, today we're going to talk about how to cut that and really kind of regain almost 3 hours of your time back during the week just from version management and managing how you work with the AI. So today we're going to talk about connectors first. We'll move into ChatGPT Canvas. Then from there, we'll talk about Claude artifacts, and we'll wrap up with some practical tips and tricks as you go through. So let's jump into connectors. What are connectors? Connectors are a secure bridge between AI and your business files. Instead of downloading them or copying and pasting content out of the document or SharePoint or OneDrive and uploading it into ChatGPT or Claude, you're able to just connect your Google Drive directly or your SharePoint or Dropbox, Slack or Outlook or Gmail, and you can ask ChatGPT to go look for that document or to refer to that document based on a naming convention or whatnot. So here's kind of what that looks like. You have 20 contracts in your SharePoint that you need to review for a client matter. You, instead of opening each one and asking ChatGPT to upload and talk and review it, each document and summarize key terms, you are then say, hey, go review these 8, 10, 20 contracts that are in this SharePoint folder called Smith v. Jones and summarize the key terms for me. And this will allow you, this will help with its context and it will reduce the amount of stuff you have to download and upload. Permissions move over. So if you don't have access to a SharePoint folder, ChatGPT or Claude cannot read that document or folder or look into that file. So let's start with the Google Workspace connector. And you could use this across all of the Google Workspace tools. You can connect your Google Drive, Gmail, Google Calendar, and a couple other Google tools. I think maybe chat as well, if in some instances. But you'll go to your settings at the bottom left-hand corner. You'll click on Settings, Apps, and Connectors, and you'll find Google Drive. You'll click Connect. You'll sign in. You may need admin permissions depending on your organization and the way it's set up, but you'll connect your Google Drive, and now it can read only what's in those systems and things like that. Same thing with Claude. You'll go to the settings, you'll go to connectors, the connectors directory. You'll find Google Drive or Google Docs. You'll click connect, and you'll repeat for each of the tools you want to connect. Now you can ask it to summarize all emails opposing to, if you connect your Gmail, summarize all emails from opposing counsel with the subject line of Johnson's case. Or you can ask it to create it in ChatGPT. You can create a scheduled task where every morning it's going to give you a daily digest of your Gmail emails that you've received from the day before or whatnot. Microsoft 365 has a similar tool. It's not as robust as Google, because Google makes things easier because they're willing to give away your data. It's a little more difficult in Microsoft 365. So let's talk about Microsoft. It's the same thing, same connectors. Now, one key thing that I want to mention is ChatGPT, regardless of which account you have, the connectors are available for you. When you upgrade to a Teams or an enterprise plan, there are other connectors that you can have and the ability to add custom connectors, which we'll talk about it in the end. But Claude, by default, will give you Google connectors and some other ones, but your Microsoft connectors, you need a Teams subscription for. So if you're on Claude Pro and you want to use your Microsoft, you might want to lean towards ChatGPT or upgrade to the Claude Team subscription. The Outlook email connector is a game changer, because if anyone knows Outlook search sucks. It's never easy to find emails, and I always have a hard time myself if I'm not refining the search and really like narrowing it down. The connector goes in and finds those emails for me better than I can, and faster than I can. So it cuts down your search time for looking for emails. It can easily summarize your emails. It can look at your calendar. It can also search your Teams or Slack channels, right, to find information or a conversation that you might be having or a document that was shared or whatnot. These really improve your workflow because it saves you the time from having to go grab that document or grab that context and give it and feed it into the AI at whatever point you need to feed it into, right? So here's a couple examples that we'll talk about and some time saved. Normally you have 12 PDF contracts if you're a contract attorney, right? And you're reading each of these and you're making notes and suggestions and comments and flagging things. With the connector, you can tell it to go look in a client folder by giving it the client folder name and asking it to identify issues or liability clauses or to find similarities or differences between the documents, or if there's any gaps and things like that. You can ask more specific questions and you're not having to explain too much of the context anymore, and it reduces the size of your prompt and makes it more efficient. From there, you can actually ask it then to draft a document or a memo summarizing the questions or the things that you had it do or look for you. So this will save a lot of time. Another one, when you're doing numbers or you're crunching numbers, you can, for an accounting example, you handle bookkeeping. The traditional approach would be you download each Excel file from QuickBooks, you would start going through it, and then you're uploading into QuickBooks back after you've made adjustments to that spreadsheet or whatnot, or you're using the spreadsheet to create dashboards. Well, with the connectors, you're not downloading each spreadsheet and then uploading it or having to create separate chats. You can put them all into a single folder, whether that's in Google Drive or in Microsoft 365, and you're then asking it to go look for it and to create that monthly report by just watching that folder. And every time you throw in a report, it updates a dashboard for you or a visual that it's some sort of visual or report that it has created for you. So when AI analyzes your folders or your documents for using a SharePoint connector or a Google Drive connector, it actually helps you spot patterns across your clients, and maybe you can see something or spot something that you did not notice. This comes in handy when you're handling more complex cases where there's multiple parties involved and or plaintiffs that are all technically separate cases but somehow related to a single defendant. Or you're doing an analysis for a merger that is looking at 3 or 4 different companies that are coming together or whatnot. One more example is when you're doing grant writing or nonprofit work, you are constantly writing proposals and grant requests so that you can get funding for projects and things like that in the nonprofit world. This will help you by being able to analyze reports or review past proposals that maybe were able to get you guys the funding that you needed, and to then use that to create the next grant proposal or the next grant request or whatnot. This shaves hours in going through past items, figuring out what worked and putting that into practice. It shaves time. So I get a lot of questions about security and permissions and things like that. I always recommend that there remains a human in the loop. These connectors are going to respect your existing permissions, but if you don't have good permissions to begin with and you have access to everything, you've just given the AI access to everything. When you have AI reading your emails, there is something called prompt injection or prompt poisoning, where if you're having Gemini, for example, read your emails or ChatGPT read your emails and someone puts in a prompt that's in white text that you don't notice because you didn't copy and paste it, it will then maybe flag an error for you and tell you, call this number or call your IT support, and give you a fake number to call. And now you're falling for a social engineering attack that's now leveraging AI to get it to cooperate with it. So make sure you have good permissions before you connect these connectors, and don't tell it to go search the entire SharePoint folder or Google Drive. Ask it to search specific folders. Be specific, give it information, be intentional. Don't send it on a wild goose chase. One of the things that I put here was this screenshot that shows you where the connectors will be found once you've connected them. So if you'll notice, I have my Outlook, my calendar, my Outlook email, my SharePoint, and my Teams. So if I need to go find something, I'm able to just ask it or whatnot. Before we start here, one of the things I'm going to recommend as well is, if you are not going to be using a connector for an extended period of time, go in and disable it and then re-authenticate when you're ready. Do not just leave it open for the AI to access it when it needs or when it thinks it needs because of a prompt you put in. So for example, if I'm not using my Outlook calendar anymore because I switched to a different calendar service, then I should go in and turn off that calendar connector, because I don't want to give it access. And then when I give it a prompt, or if I paste a prompt into it that has a poisonous or a malicious intent that's hidden in it, then I don't need it accessing data that it shouldn't, or that I had no intention for it to access. So best practices for using connectors: be specific about the file location and the file name. Like I said before, don't set it on a wild goose chase. Always ask it to give you citations. ChatGPT, Claude, all of these large language models are going to have something called inference. And inference is where it's going to make assumptions as it's going along based on the chunks of content that it's reviewing or working with. Ask it to cite check and fact check it. I'll give you a pro tip at the end here. Remember, these connectors are powerful, but they're not perfect. So while a document may exist, your prompt may have not been specific enough for it to go look at that document specifically, and it's looking at a different document, or it was confused. Now, the pro tip that I have for you is, When you ask it to for citations, if you're someone like me who uses both models, I use both ChatGPT and Claude. I will take a result out of ChatGPT and have Claude fact check ChatGPT. And a lot of people will do this for the ones that have multi platforms or use multiple platforms for different work use cases. I use it to fact check and to confirm that the information it's giving me is accurate. And then I use my human in the loop myself to go in and check it. Garbage in, garbage out. If your cloud storage that you connect is a disaster and it's not clearly organized with clear folder names and a clear structure that an AI can follow, it's not going to have a good time finding things, and you may hit your context window just having it search for something and you don't accomplish anything. Be organized. Have your client matters, client name, and then maybe a year or something. Be strategic and have the same structure across your entire drive. When you're using connectors, which we're going to go into next, is when you'll use a connector to do the research. Then you can have it start creating a document in Canvas or in an artifact from Claude or ChatGPT. And from there, you can start working on a document and creating a final product. Speaking of Canvas, what is Canvas? Canvas is ChatGPT's solution to copy and paste in a collaborative work environment for you and the AI. Canvas opens up a side panel on the right-hand side, and then you have your chat window on the left-hand side, creating an environment where you can go in and edit documents, or you can ask it to rewrite certain sections or rewrite the whole thing or whatnot. Canvas is extremely powerful because you can have it just work on specific sections. So I can highlight a paragraph and say, I don't like the way this reads, reword it or simplify it or explain it better, and it will rewrite just that section. In the past, it would require you to, the AI would rewrite the entire document, and sometimes you would lose data that was really critical. So when you export a canvas, you have a couple of options in ChatGPT to export it as a PDF, as a Word document, or something called a markdown file. A markdown file is a plain text document that has formatting in the forms of hashtags and stars and things like that, but it is a format that the AI can actually read a little bit easier and not burn through so many tokens. And if you guys recall, tokens are a word or a set or a combination of words that equal to a token, and a token is what an AI uses to read a document. So how Canvas differs from regular chat. In the chat, everything is one scrolling window, and it's a question and answer, question and answer. When you're working on a document in chat, it's going to continuously rewrite and start over keep bringing the document down in your conversation. With Canvas, the document or the product you're working on lives in its own space, whether that's a code for a dashboard you asked it to put together, or a visualization, or a document that you're writing, a letter, a brief, whatever it may be. When the canvas opens, there's a couple ways that you trigger a canvas to come up and work. Either you say, let's create a document in Canvas, or sometimes based on your prompt, if it's detailed enough, it will know that you're trying to create a document and it will automatically open a Canvas document or give you a little pencil so that you can edit the document and start working with it collaboratively. This eliminates the need for copy and pasting through a chat and then losing good content that may have been created or written or something that you really liked. Some options that you have, and I'll show you guys a screenshot in our next slide, is you can say you have options like change the reading level. So you can say, I want a 5th grade reading level or a 12th grade reading level, or college. Add a final polish, or adjust the length. This is too much, make it more concise. Or you can ask it to even suggest edits for you. Neat thing about Canvas is it has version control. So every time changes get made, a new version comes up and you're able to go through those versions if you need to revert back. So we talked about this a little bit. On your left-hand side, you're going to have your normal ChatGPT window. On the right-hand side, you're going to have a split screen, basically, that has a full editing document. OpenAI is trying to compete with Word and Excel and Copilot, where things are so embedded that you don't have to necessarily leave the document. They still have a long way to go, but they're trying to make your experience easier and make it sticky for you to stay by creating version history or creating this toolbar that says suggest edits or change the reading level or polish it, right? Or add emojis to the document. And then you have your export where you can export it in multiple ways. Another pro tip, when you highlight text in Canvas, it will give you a separate window other than these where it will allow you to either put in your own edits or give it an additional prompt on it, like expand more on the cybersecurity issue within this topic, and it can expand more on that section only. So you have an additional, it's almost like a sub prompt, if you will, or a sub chat within the document. So what does that look like? Draft an engagement letter for new business litigation client. Include a scope of work, fee structure at $350 an hour, and a standard terms. Canvas will then open up because you're asking it to draft a letter, it should know that it will open up. It doesn't happen every time, and sometimes updates screw this up, but if it doesn't, just say open this in Canvas and it will open it in Canvas. Canvas opens up with the draft. You can start looking at edits, making adjustments, and when you're done, you can hit make more formal or adjust the reading level, whatever it is, finalize it, polish it, and extract it. What this does is it takes 20 to 30 minutes worth of work down to about 5, because you can give it a template. If you followed our prompting guide from 2 months ago, and it's available on YouTube where you can watch it, you'll remember that I said one of our options is to provide examples of what you're trying to give. So if you give it an example of a prior engagement letter and you're just changing a few aspects of it, it should be able to draft it for you, give it to you to do some final touches, maybe certain things that you need to add to the scope, and you can then export it and get it going. So another example here for a tax deadline, right? You need to send a reminder to 40 clients. So you're going to use that in Canvas because it can create multiple documents for you and you can just toggle between the documents. Write a professional email to clients reminding them that Q4 estimated tax payments are due January 15th. Include what the payment covers, penalties for late payments, and instructions on how to contact us for help. If you have a spreadsheet with the contact information and the data that you want to fill in, it can basically do a mail merge for you and pull that content in for you from the spreadsheet by attaching the spreadsheet in your prompt. Once you get the final letter, you can have it generate each one, you export them one at a time, and you can send them out. Now, if you have a good prompt, you're going to get better results. So keep that in mind. The better your prompt, the more specific your prompt is. And if it has the steps, then you're going to have a better outcome. If you continue to use the prompting guidelines, we mentioned CRISPE, CRISPE, or CLEAR, those are going to help you formulate the prompt that will give you a good result and reduce the back and forth and rewrites that you need to do. When you combine AI edits with your own, it's going to help you get through things a lot faster, and you're going to be able to use less brain power, if you will, and focus more on strategy and not focus on the way something sounds or the way something is coming across. Your job will be to verify accuracy, validate it, add your personalization touch to it, and then get it out the door. So let's talk about Claude artifacts. It is not the same as Canvas. It's a completely different approach to creating shareable content within an AI system. So think of an artifact as a finished work product that Claude creates for you, such as a form or a report or a checklist or a structured document. it lives in its own space. It keeps your chat and more about creating complete deliverables. Canvas is collaborative editing. Artifacts is creating a finished product that you can review, revise, and share with your team. So you can, once you publish it, it has a unique URL. You can share it with clients. You can share it with your staff, and it is a form. And I'll show you what that looks like. There's in a couple slides here. So it functions the same way. On the left-hand side, you have your conversation, your chat with Claude. On the right-hand side, a artifact will display. That could be a document, that could be a chart, that could be a visualization that it created for you, such as a PowerPoint slide or an image or something. It's going to have a publish button. It's going to have a copy button where you can copy the content and move it out. It's going to have a download button, and the download button may download it as Markdown, it may download it as JSON. These are forms that Claude is optimized to use for efficiency and various things. You can take the document when you copy it, you put it into Word, you paste it, you're done, or your email, do a little bit of cleanup, and you go from there. Artifacts persist across your sessions, meaning it is a template that just lives in a database and you can use it. So when you close out Claude and you come back, it's still there. It has a conversation history. It's ready to go. So what does that look like? So Claude has a writing assistant where you put in your text. This is an artifact that was created. This artifact is based on specifications of how I need a document produced. And it will use that, whether it's grammar, punctuation, tone, style, clarity, things like that, and it will help analyze your text and help regurgitate it back to you. And that's on the right-hand side, and you'll notice there's the publish button, there's the copy button, there's a refresh button. On the left-hand side, you can create artifacts, and it will literally help you walk you through the steps. You know, are you creating a game? For example, you can, if your kids are learning sight words, something we're doing right now, you can create a game out of it using an artifact, and it'll create a fun game for your 4-year-old to help with their sight words, or a form of information. Maybe it's an intake form that you want created, and you want the same information every time, and you want AI to help you get through that and synthesize that data. You can build one out just by talking to it and having specific ideas of what you're looking to do. So what's an example of an artifact and how would you use it? Let's say you sit on a committee, or you're the executive director of an organization, and you need to have a monthly report for the board meeting or the agenda, right? So you say, create a board meeting agenda for our monthly board meeting, include approvals from last month's minutes, executive director's report and financial reports need to be included for budget versus actual, blah, 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 blah. And the artifact will then create an agenda that you can follow and have. It will also calculate responsible time for each item based on what you had in your last minutes and things like that. If you're using some connectors, like Claude has some connectors for Fireflies, if you use Fireflies for your AI note takers and other ones, you can actually have it check into Fireflies to pull the meeting transcript and analyze that based on what happened in that last meeting, and you're not necessarily having to feed it information one at a time. So once you're done, you can create, you publish it, you copy the link, you can share it with everyone, and now everyone has a pretty meeting agenda that was created by AI and you just fed it information. This will take a couple minutes versus traditionally it would take 20, 30 minutes to create an agenda. Now it's taking you 3 minutes because you're telling it where to find information, and it's going to create it. You fine tune it, you have a conversation with the chat window for it to adjust the artifact, and then you're done. Another one we've seen is creating an artifact for an intake checklist. And you create the template, you publish it, you share it with the team. Every time a result comes through, It can be sent to the Slack channel. It can be sent to exported into a PDF document that can then be saved into the client's file, things like that. So let's take a moment and talk about when you use an artifact and when to use Canvas. Canvas is primarily for collaborative work with the AI. You are editing editing a document, having it go through some revisions. You have version control, and you can actually export it to Word or PDF. An artifact is more for templates or checklists that you're trying to maintain a specific structure or you're requiring certain information. Now, there's no difference between artifacts and like Microsoft Forms other than they have special um, use cases, but you can almost use an artifact instead of a Microsoft form almost every single time by creating a public link and things like that, or a jot form or any of those things when you're trying to collect information from the public. But when you use an artifact, you're getting the power of AI behind it, which these companies still are falling behind or haven't integrated it into their products. So honestly, at the end of the day, if you're using whichever one you use, find the one that works for you and that's going to give you the result that you need. Does it check the majority of your boxes? Both are excellent choices, and I use both based on the use case that I'm working on. And that's something we're finding nowadays is with AI, each LLM has a really good has good strengths and weaknesses. So, for example, Claude is really good at writing, but ChatGPT is really good at creating strategic ideas and thinking outside the box, essentially. So here's a little matrix that I had put together to help you figure out when to use connectors, when to use artifacts, when to use Canvas, and when to use the regular chat. So if you're researching your files or you're looking for something or you have a brief that you need analyzed, you're going to want to use connectors. You're looking for summarization of certain things, connectors. Iterative document editing or collaborative document editing, Canvas. You're working on a team template, something that's structured, artifacts. If you're looking at exporting to Word or PDF, Canvas is a lot better. Claude can do it. There's a little bit of a workaround and it's not perfect every time. And formatting gets a little funky, but it's doable. Long documents or where you need it to analyze data in chunks or better, you're going to want to use Claude and artifacts, and there's a combination on that. And we can actually do a pretty entire session on how to do that. And then if you're looking for Q&A or you're doing some strategic thinking, there's no document, there's nothing that needs to be documented anywhere or kept, you're going to want to use the regular chat in either platform. At the end of the day, just use the one that works for you and that gives you the results that you're looking for. So today we covered connectors, Canvas, and artifacts. And if you've been to our previous AI learning labs, you'll notice that we've been doing these building blocks. Our first one was about personalization. So you make sure that when you're prompting it, it's responding to you the way you're expecting an assistant or someone to respond to you. We talked about your prompts, how to build a good prompt and the key details or requirements of a good prompt to get good results, which is layered on top of your personalization sets that we've done. Then we've moved into projects and custom GPTs and things like that within Claude and ChatGPT. Those are also building blocks because within those you can use your connectors and have separate artifacts and all of those. And today we've talked about our connectors, Canvas, and artifacts, which is all bringing it all together at the end to now let's say, okay, let's look at our workflows. So does anyone have any questions?
Yes, we have a question in the chat. What if we have templates in a PowerPoint format? Would Canvas take those and modify it?
So it can read it. AI is not the greatest at PowerPoint. Gamma is a lot better, and I can grab the link and send it out in our email. Gamma is designed for PowerPoints. ChatGPT doesn't have visual context. I don't know if you've ever asked it to create a PowerPoint for you. Claude actually does a lot better at creating a PowerPoint, but tends to have this like purple tint and hue to it. So I would recommend using a specific tool until the large language models catch up, using Gamma, which is really good, and it's great. A couple of our trial firms use it for creating their PowerPoints for the trial. Any other questions?
That's all we got, unless anyone else has any other questions.
Awesome. So on our to close out the year, we're going to talk about AI agents, which is really going to talk about Gemini's plugin in Chrome for the AI search. We're going to talk about Perplexity Comment, which is a browser that is basically built with AI from the ground up, and it has an agent feature where it can go do things for you. And we're going to talk about agent mode in ChatGPT. And then in January, we're going to talk about workflows. And at that point, we're going to really just go through how to use AI from the beginning to the end. Once we've done all these settings and you've understand all these connectors and you've set up these connectors for yourself, what is a workflow that we want to try out and how does that go through all the way to the end? If you've missed our past AI sessions, there's a QR code to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Every time we post a video, you'll see it there. Or when we do these labs, you'll see it there. And register for our next one, and we'll hope to see you guys there. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.